Good afternoon, Jai Hind. I'm back like a bad penny once again. And I can see that the attrition has still not taken place. Still, people are very much present. I was hoping that I'll be only speaking to about 5 or 6 people at the end of the day. But there seem to be many more at the moment. Anyway, this is a very, supposedly a very drab subject. A subject on military diplomacy. Is the sword sharper than the pen or the pen sharper than the sword? I'll try and make it a little more interesting for you by making it anecdotal rather than making it theoretical. But I got to start with theory because, you have people from all walks of life here who will need to be brought on the same grid to understand what is military diplomacy. Because as far as the common public is concerned, the military is nothing but throwing a couple of weapons at the enemy. Right? It's all about fighting, it's all about AK-47s, it's all about the kinetic domain, counting bodies at the end of the day, not realizing that warfare is not just kinetics. Warfare has a spectrum, right? Now you're looking at cyber. We just heard the whole beautiful presentation on cyber. Cyber has nothing to do with kinetics. It's a kinetic in a different domain, right? But you see the kind of effects it is happening, and it's very much a part of warfare today. Similarly, you will find in the spectrum lots and lots of activities. Diplomacy is one of them. Now, let me try and illustrate this to you. One of the best things happening at the moment is Operation Kaveri going on. Okay? And I haven't seen it myself, but I'm told of a wonderful video which has appeared yesterday evening of the Indian Defense Attaché in Riyadh standing. He's the one who's looking after this entire Operation Kaveri from that other end. Standing atop a platform and announcing to the people at the airport or wherever they are picking up the people from and saying, the Indian army has come. Don't worry, the Indian army has come. Can you find a better example of diplomacy? The message conveyed clearly, hum aa gaye hain. Hum hai na? It reminds you of the famous movie, Hum hai na? We are there. When we are there, you don't have to worry at all. That's the message which is being conveyed. And if the system does not utilize this capability of the armed forces, then you are wasting a resource. Every embassy, every place has got structured, has got a defense attaché, something like that. You got a MI foreign division here. These are all structured aspects of diplomacy. But going beyond that with many other things. Let me start by explaining to you. I was on a visit to Ankara many years ago, almost 20 years ago. And my flight was late. I was going as a part of the Royal College of Defence Studies delegation. And we landed in Ankara and my flight was about 8 hours delayed. 2 o'clock in the morning we reached. I had with me people from 18 countries. Developed countries, this, that. All of them reached bleary-eyed. No one to receive. There was someone from the Turkish government who had come to receive us. But I was like a VIP because I was being received by the Indian Defense Attaché in Ankara. Brigadier Ajay Talwar of the Mechanized Infantry was there at 2 o'clock in the morning to receive me. When the 18 officers who were with me saw it, they were from 18 different countries. When they saw this, they said, amazing. You mean to say you got an officer from your army here? I said, yes, absolutely. He's receiving me at 2 o'clock in the morning, shaven at 2 o'clock in the morning. It projected something different. Here is a different army. Here's a different country. That is military diplomacy in many ways. The right projection of your nation. And you'll be surprised that 2 evenings later, I was attending a reception at the British High Commission or the British Embassy there, because we had gone as a part of the British setup from London. The British High Commissioner, or rather the British Ambassador to Ankara, tells me, Brigadier, that time I was a brigadier, Brigadier, whenever I'm in problems, whenever I need some information which I can't seem to gather from anywhere else, whenever I need a little analysis, whenever I need something focused on a difficult issue, I only go back to one man in Ankara. I said, who's that? He's in the Indian DA. It's amazing. You have a whole British embassy there. No, but he went back to the Indian brigadier because he's the most knowledgeable man among the entire setup of embassies in Ankara at that time. This is what military diplomacy is all about. Projection of your image, correction, and helping resolve these problems. Let me give you one small definition of it. The profession, activity or skill of managing international relations, typically by a country's representative abroad, is called diplomacy. Right? And what is military diplomacy? The employment of military resources in a non-offensive manner to create or facilitate a positive working environment and promote trust. It is a subset of political diplomacy. On its back rides national strategic outlook. Let me give you another example. Why do you think Pakistan and Saudi Arabia have enjoyed such a strong relationship over years? Do you know that in 1978-79, when the Iranian Revolution took place, Saudi Arabia perceived a threat to the royal family with what's happening in the environment there. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan had taken place in 1979. They turned to one country who were supposedly great friends of theirs, Pakistan. And from Pakistan came an armored brigade and an infantry brigade and stayed in Saudi Arabia for the better part of the next 15 years. They embedded the relationship between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. The protection of the royal family was in the hands of the Pakistan army. I'm not giving you only the virtues of the Indian army, I'm saying world over, military diplomacy is a domain which is not spoken of so often, not recognized so often, but is well known and needs to be looked at much more seriously. Let me give you another example. I can keep giving you anecdotes after anecdotes on this issue. I went to Tehran as a part of an Indian delegation, not too many years ago. It was after the 5th of August decisions on Kashmir, 370. You will be surprised to know that in Tehran, our embassy itself, very happy to see my face. Said, you've come, so why don't you detach yourself from the delegation? I said, why? He said, we need you for something different. Let me know, what can I do for you? He said, we need you to speak to the Iranian media. Next 2-3 days, if you can spend time with the Iranian media, television, print media, etc. I said, on what? What subject? They said, Kashmir. Why? Why? There was no one with hands-on experience there to speak on this, to go to the media. And you know, Tehran is the propaganda capital of the ISI. That's where the ISI goes and talks the maximum. Because they know India-Iran relations are in the making, Chabahar and things like that. And they wanted to make sure that they go there, talk about the UN resolution, about India's human rights violations in Jammu and Kashmir and things like that. They said, so if you can speak, I thought this was a great opportunity. I went downtown Tehran, spent my next 48 to 72 hours only in television studios, different print channels, with different print organizations, and interview after interview. You will be very surprised to know every question which was thrown to me in the interviews was as if it was drafted at Rawalpindi. That, you see, the perception was that no one knew what is Shimla Agreement. Shimla Agreement, bhul jao. Everyone spoke of Karachi Agreement 1949, which is something which we don't even talk about today. Now, if you don't have knowledge on this, if you don't have knowledge on these issues, you're not going to be able to speak on it. For us in the army, those who have been in Jammu and Kashmir know that what is exactly the Shimla Agreement? How was the LOC exactly created? What are the conditions on the line of control? What are the challenges? What is the meaning of proxy war? What is the meaning of sponsored terrorism? These terms are alien to people around the world. No one knows about it. Let me tell you one more small story before I end. This is all about my international travels. Spoken at Tel Aviv. Went to Tel Aviv as a part of the Herzliya summit, counter-terrorism summit. So this is one place where we can speak openly. Pakistan does not even have it doesn't have diplomatic relations with Israel. So unlikely that there's going to be anyone here to be speaking against India. So let's give the Indian standpoint nicely. Let's put this across to people, international community here. Let them all hear what the Indian stand on Kashmir is and other issues. You will be surprised. When my turn came up next morning to speak at 10:30, but before that, at breakfast at 8 o'clock, there were 3 Pakistanis sitting with me on the table. 3 Pakistanis were sitting with me on my breakfast table and sharing breakfast with me. They had reached there also. It just shows that someone was very proactive on military diplomacy on the other side of the line of control, who knew that we will be there to cultivate our point of view here in a very important summit. And here, it was important for them to counter our standpoint. So, what I'm trying to essentially explain to you, next 2 minutes only, is that there are domains and domains and domains which can be exploited by those who make political diplomacy, those who are career diplomats, have to understand that there are people and there are domains which can be used tremendously. For example, again, are you aware that our staff college, our Defense Services Staff College at Wellington, established since 1948, has got alumni after alumni from all over Africa, all over Asia, lots of countries of Europe, etc. Sudan is one of those countries which has constantly sent an officer as a part of our ITEC program to India, to the staff college. If someone perhaps had made an effort, you may even have found an PSC officer of the Sudan army there at the moment, with whom you could make a contact. The reason why contacts between uniformed people make such a difference is, first of all, because you're uniformed. You are of a different culture, considered to be of a different culture, of a certain different training. There's a commonality of your thinking, and therefore people who are in uniform normally tend to flock together. It helps in the overall diplomatic posturing. Last part, if there's anything more which I have left to speak. Do you know that India, after having won the 71 war, how did our relationship with Bangladesh flourish thereafter? Not too great, not too strong. I went in 2015 to the National Defense College of Bangladesh to speak there. I was horrified to know I was the first Indian Army general to be speaking at the Bangladesh NDC. We should have had a general officer, an air marshal and an admiral speaking there every year. That's what we should have done. By our neighbor. A country we have helped deliver its independence. We didn't have to talk down to them. We didn't have to tell them that we delivered your independence. No, we were there with you when you were the ones who delivered your independence. That's the way diplomacy works. No, but we were wrong in our approach on that. Over these years, fortunately, amends have been made. Today we have a good, flourishing relationship with Bangladesh. I was very, very happy to go there, speak. I was supposed to speak at only one event, and I spoke at 5 events subsequently. In one particular event at the Bangladesh Institute of Strategic Studies, the Prime Minister sent her military advisor to listen to what I had to say. The Indian general has come from India. Let's listen to what he is saying. And this was the time when Bangladesh was suffering from acute threats of terrorism, internal terrorism, from the Jamaat-e-Islami and things like that. I spoke exactly that. Nothing against in any other way. I wanted to convey to the Bangladesh government, the government of India, the thinkers within the strategic community of India are all with you. We support you. That was the message I wanted to convey. And that's the message which came out clear next morning in the media when I found that I was in the headlines speaking that. So it's important, it's a very important aspect. One doesn't realize it, that the pen sometimes, the mind sometimes, there are lots and lots of people in the armed forces who are doing tremendous work. I mean, this kind of cyber work which General Pant is doing at the moment, I can assure you there'll be n number of countries in Africa and Asia, etc., who would love to collaborate with him. Because that's where the future is. And that's where we should be moving. We should be assisting all those countries. And his organization can do wonders in a field like that. So as technologies move on, as India becomes more and more advanced, as we become a $5 trillion and a $10 trillion economy, let's not keep political diplomacy as the only diplomacy. Let's make sure that we look at other domains of diplomacy, among them military diplomacy being one of the primary ones. Thank you very much and Jai Hind.